Tone Deaf is the journey of a musical theater nerd, bringing musicals into the life of their musically challenged spouse. The reactions to the musicals are real and mostly unedited. This show is for ages 14 and up, because sometimes you just need to use a swear. Now sit back, relax, and have a laugh. You're listening to Tone Deaf.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren. I'm musically challenged.
So I figure we'll get this one out of the way today. It's better to just rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it.
I agree.
Yep. So we're going to be doing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Fault's you're a bad boy.
Which I do have to say that a couple of times as we prepared for this, I had to remind Warren that this was not the same show as the satirical play Dog Meets God.
Which you showed me a scene from years ago, and I laughed, and I thought that's what we were going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I was only slightly disappointed.
This is completely different, but I will talk a little bit about that one later on in this episode. This show is way more cheerful than Dog Meets God. This show is based on the comic Peanuts by Charles Schulz, which you unfortunately have a less than good feeling about with.
I have a peanut allergy, is what she's trying to say.
What?
Yeah, I have an allergy to peanuts. Not the nut,
Just
but peanuts.
Yeah, just the comic.
Yeah.
Because children are horrible, which I always feel bad because I was a huge fan of Peanuts when I was a kid.
Kay loves peanuts. Loves peanuts. And then she meets me, who hates peanuts.
Yeah.
Hates peanuts. So, I won't go into it on this episode. Maybe I will. I'll open up that wound later at a different point in time. But not today, because I don't want to, and you can't make me. So
no worries. Plus, this, you might actually get a little bit more of appreciation for this.
It's possible. Time heals all wounds.
Time heals all wounds. And
it's been a long time, and I just need to be a big boy and suck it up.
Or I could go and beat up those people for you. Because there is some rage.
While I'm not opposed to you being violent towards people I don't like, I am opposed to you being arrested and taken away from me.
That's true. That's true.
Don't leave me a single father to our dog.
I will not. So, I guess what I'll do real quick is kind of give a rundown. So, Peanuts was a comic strip that ran from 1950 to 2000. It's one that pretty much everyone has some exposure to because it's everywhere, because Charles Schulz was a genius at marketing his comic. The show was sort of based around just childhood adventures. It was a vignette type comic strip. It wasn't a serial comic strip, so there wasn't really a status quo to ever return to. So the show, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, being based on Peanuts, it's actually a really minimalist musical. The sets are minimalist. The cast is small. It's not...
So it sounds like you're trying to say a polite way of saying low budget.
It actually is pretty low budget, and that's why you'll see a lot of groups like doing this show. This is very popular for high schools, for junior highs to do. You don't have very many set pieces traditionally with this show. In fact, most of the time you'll have the doghouse, you'll have some blocks that can be used as different set pieces. You might have other things like a bench, but that's it.
A bench?
That's it.
Oh, you didn't tell me there was a bench in this story.
Yes, there's
now,
a bench.
I am vested.
So, with this show, it actually started out as a concept album by Clark Genzer in the early 1960s. He had to fight pretty hard to even get the concept album made because the syndicate that owned Peanuts didn't give him permission. He had to record a demo of the songs and just send it to Charles Schulz himself, and Charles Schulz liked it and went, yeah, sure, you can do this.
So it was basically a passion project for him.
Yes.
And he had to show, look, I really, really like your thing, and I really, really want to do this.
Yeah. So it's got that... It's got sort of a heart to it because of that. You can tell that he really cares about the show. It didn't turn into an actual musical until 1967. This was at the urging of Arthur Whitelaw, who were going to actually see a show from...
Wait. Whitelaw?
Yeah, that's a last name that people have.
I've never heard the last... I've seen a lot of different last names. You know this. I've never heard... Whitelaw sounds like...
It could be pronounced Whitlaw, but it's spelled Whitelaw.
That sounds like the name of some racist lawyer in a horrible movie about...
I don't think he is, though.
Well, I'm just saying. If I watched a Spike Lee movie and it had an evil lawyer in it and his name was Whitelaw, I'd be like, that's the villain.
Well, this guy's not a villain. But we will be talking about him later in the episode. And those of you who know this show really well or know Peanuts really well, you'll know why we're going to talk about him later.
I actually know Peanuts very well. Peanuts are not actually a nut, they're a legume.
Fun fact. Do you know why this is called Peanuts?
Isn't it because Charlie Brown's head?
No.
Oh.
Charlie Brown's head is round.
Well, but like it's bald, like a peanut or something like that.
No. Oh, a fun fact with Charlie Brown, he's actually blonde. He's a towhead. So his hair is so blonde that it looks like he's bald.
I didn't know that. So why is it called Peanuts?
So it's called Peanuts because of the peanut gallery. You've heard that term before, right? Like, oh, comments from the peanut gallery.
I have heard that, but I don't really know what it is.
So like shows like Howdy Doody and stuff that existed in the 50s and 60s would have the kids off to the side that would cheer and stuff, and that was the peanut gallery. And that's why it's called Peanuts.
Is it Peanuts just because they're children and they're small?
Yes, they're children. They are kind of the age that would be in Romper Room or Captain Kangaroo or...
So now my brain is telling me there was a show that I'd seen at one point where a father had a pet name for their child and they called them Peanut.
That's probably because they were small. It probably wasn't referencing Peanut Gallery.
No, but that's probably... I mean, that's what I was thinking is, like, if you're saying Peanut Gallery and that's where the children would sit, that makes sense why they called their kid Peanut.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. There you go.
So, keeping with the theme of our show, that was a tangent.
That was indeed a tangent.
I will shut up now and let you get back on track.
It wasn't quite tangent, because it's still related to this show.
I guess in a roundabout way.
So... You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown opened in 1967 off-Broadway, and it ran until February of 1971.
Pretty decent run.
Yep, during that time, it was performed on the West End in 1968, had a U.S. tour in 1970, and eventually it went on Broadway in 1971, but only lasted 32 performances.
Did something tragic happen?
No,
or
they just... did their run. Not all Broadway runs are really long. Some are limited engagements, or they don't sell as many tickets, or all sorts of reasons why a show would have a shorter run. In 1999, it was revived with 2 new songs added and a character being replaced because said character was no longer featured much in the comics, so they wanted to keep with the times and sort of update it a little bit. They also... lengthened a few of the songs, added some incidental music. So the whole show, all of the lines and all of the scenes are actually based on actual strips from the comics. So they are basically performing this comic live for you.
Okay.
So that's what, when they updated the show, they had 50 years of material to pull from. So they pulled from 50 years of material and updated it. The original cast of the show, of the off-Broadway version, included Gary Burkhoff from MASH. He was Radar.
Okay.
He was Charlie Brown. Skip Hinnant was Schroeder. Schroeder's the kid that plays the piano.
Okay.
Reva Rose was Lucy.
I only know Lucy because she's the one who pulls the football away from Charlie Brown.
Bob Balaban, do you remember him? Moonrise Kingdom. He's the narrator.
I like that guy.
Yes, he was Linus, so he's Lucy's little brother that carries the blanket. We had Karen Johnson as Patty. Not Peppermint Patty, but Patty. And then Bill Hinnant as Snoopy.
I didn't realize that Peppermint Patty and Patty were two different people.
Yes, Patty was one of the first characters in Peanuts. She's in the first comic strip, in fact. And she was kind of the other main character for a long time. I could do a whole podcast just on the history of Peanuts, because this was a hyperfixation of mine as a kid. But she was one of the main characters from the 50s and 60s, and she gradually faded out in the 60-year run. In the revival, Patty was replaced by Charlie Brown's little sister, Sally, who had just been born by the time that the show was created.
So much to digest.
Yes. Like, for a show, or for a comic that doesn't have a story, there is a lot of story in the comic. I guess, in the creation of it and such. So this show, as I said, is a series of vignettes. It's broken up by musical numbers. There's no plot, because there was no plot to the comic. There might have been a few strips that would run concurrently, but otherwise, no plot. It was a slice of life comic.
Okay, so it's just a bunch of not related stories that are just one right after another.
Yes, and it's the life of these kids that live in this neighborhood, and the dog.
So how many comics, I'm using quotations for that, comics are in this musical? Like, I mean...
Oh, man.
So, I mean, like, is it, like, 30, 40? Like, is it a sung-through musical?
No, okay. It is not a sung-through. So it'll be a few little skits, and, I guess the only story, really, is that you've got Charlie Brown, who's this kid who's supposed to be the everyman, who also kind of has terrible luck. You have his pet dog Snoopy, his little sister Sally. You have Lucy and Linus. Linus is Charlie Brown's best friend and also Lucy's little brother. Even though Linus is like 5 and Charlie Brown's like 8, but they're best friends. Because age is weird in the Peanuts universe. Because Lucy's supposed to be younger than Charlie Brown too, but they're always shown in the same class.
Maybe she's advanced, Carly.
Well, knowing the characters, probably, because Linus and Lucy are both pretty advanced kids. They're all pretty advanced kids. But yeah, there's no plot though to speak of for Peanuts. Where was I? Oh, the show has simple staging. I'm looking at my script because I needed to make sure. So the show has simple staging. It's a small 6-person cast, and originally the orchestration was a piano, a bass, and and a drum set, or some other form of percussion. That's it.
Really minimalist.
Yes. The revival goes more fully orchestrated. The sets are more elaborate. By elaborate, I mean there's more than just blocks on the stage and Snoopy's doghouse and a bench.
Is there a tree?
No. Not in the... Well, it depends, actually, because some people do put a tree, some people don't. A tree does feature. There is the kite-eating tree.
The kite-eating tree?
Yes. Charlie Brown often would try to fly his kite, and there was a tree that was the kite-eating tree. and it ate his kites.
So, like, is the tree alive and he eats...
The joke is that it is, but... It's
just a tree.
It's just a tree,
It's
it's all from the perspective of these little kids.
It's just a tree, and Charlie Brown has crappy luck, and he's bad at flying kites, and he just flies his kite into a tree all the time.
Yeah. And, again, like, it's kind of like with Cats, where Cats was from the perspective of these cats. If you watch this show from the perspective of a group of elementary school kids and a dog, it's a little easier to go, oh, okay, I can see why this is going on.
So that's why they don't understand what adults are saying.
Exactly. That's why the adults all do the That's why, is because it's all the perspective of little kids.
Makes a little bit more sense to me now.
Yes. So if you look at shows like this in that way, then it's easier to digest them. This show, by the way, does have a sequel.
It's not the Dog Meets God
No,
one, is it?
Dog Meets God is an unofficial parody. And we will be running into shows that have sequels throughout our journey here. Nonsense is a good example. In this case, it's more of a spiritual successor sequel than a true sequel, but it does kind of bill itself as a sequel, so that's why I'm going to say it. The sequel is called Snoopy, the musical, and it was created by the aforementioned Arthur Whitelaw. And it's going to be pretty close to the same sort of staging as You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It's just more focused on Snoopy rather than on Charlie Brown. And we're going to do that one towards the end of our next 10-show cycle.
Okay.
This also isn't the only set of shows based on a comic strip. We're going to be doing at least 2 more very soon.
Is there a Garfield musical?
No. Dear God, I hope not. No. No, there isn't.
I saw the panic flare in your eyes. Which is funny, because we both like Garfield.
Yeah, but I don't know how I'd feel about a musical of Garfield.
So I guess spoilers for the future, for me at least. What are the other 2 comics?
Annie.
I did not know Annie was a comic.
Yes, Annie was originally a comic.
Like Little Orphan Annie?
Yes.
Did not know it was a comic.
Yes, and that comic's first run ended really dark.
So
and
we'll
then,
get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we do Annie. And then Little Abner is another one.
Oh, I have heard that before, but I have no idea what it is.
Did you ever have a Sadie Hawkins dance at your school? Where the girls get to ask the guys out?
I never went to any school dances.
But, like, did you ever see it posted or anything?
Possibly.
Or have people be jerks about it and be like, oh, who are you asking out?
Probably, but I blocked out a lot of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, because I unfortunately did not block that out. But that's where Sadie Hawkins dance kind of is popular, is Little Abner, which is a comic that I still can't get into, and I've seen the show, and I saw the show live, and still couldn't get into it, but every so often I get one of the songs from it stuck in my head, and I just bang my head against a wall like, no, I've only seen this once, why? So, yeah. Oh, and there is another show that's based on a comic that we will eventually do.
Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yay.
That gasp.
I choked on my excitement a little.
We will do a special episode that will be a patron-only one, though, to cover Dog Meets God.
Okay. Since it's unofficial.
It's unofficial, and it's dark.
Keep knocking
it is
over my water.
So dark. So the production we're going to be doing, we're going to be watching the production put on by the Center Grove Performing Arts Center. It will be the revival version, and eventually I want to try to find a version that's closer to the original 1967 one, but the issue with that was a lot of the ones I was finding didn't have a 6-person cast, and that's what I wanted you to be able to see.
And they all talked like this, because it was old-timey times.
Actually, I did find the original Hallmark Hall of Fame one, but it's VHS quality. which was not good, and...
Which does not translate well to 2019.
No, it does not. So, we're going to go take a brief intermission and watch the show, but in the meantime, let's hear from our amazing sponsors. Alright, Warren. It's time for the best part of every intermission.
Getting snacks that we can't bring back into the theater?
Even better. Now that the lights are back up, we can look into the playbill. Here are the people who donated $5 or more to make this show possible.
And the prestigious spot of our very first Tone Deaf Patreon sponsor is Jasmine Wu. Thank you so much for your contribution to our show. We deeply appreciate it. Your contribution is what makes Tone Deaf possible.
Thank you so much. And here's a message from one of our favorite podcasts called History on Blast.
Hello, and welcome to History on Blast. I'm Hillary, and I'll be your host as we call out history. Every other week, we'll be putting a different person, place, time, or event on blast for the shit that they pulled. This ain't your grandpa's history podcast, so if this sounds like your cup of harbor tea, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher.
And now, the lights are going down and the music is starting back up, so let's hop into the second act of the show. Alright, so what'd you think of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown?
I thought You're a Swell Fella, Charlie, was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all the musicals we've watched, this was my least favorite.
Yeah.
And I don't think because it was Charlie Brown necessarily, because there were parts that I thought was entertaining.
Yeah.
I think probably the lack of like an overall story, because to me the whole thing just kind of felt random and cobbled together.
Yes.
Which I'm judging by your disposition, that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I mean, other people like it. Had some cute stuff in it. I didn't.
This was kind of an experimental show. This was the wild and crazy 60s, so...
And I'm sure that if I grew up reading the comic strip, and I was like, oh, hey, I remember that from this comic, and I remember that from this comic, like, it would...
And that's kind of what this show banks on more, is familiarity with the comic. Out of the two Peanuts musicals, I like this one the least. The second one I like more. And it's similar in its no-plotness, but it's Snoopy-focused, and Snoopy was always my favorite, so that's probably why. And Peppermint Patty's in it, and I love Peppermint Patty.
I do have to say, though, as a bit of word of wisdom to anybody listening, don't ever ask the universe how things could go wrong.
Right.
Don't ever start your day going, how could anything go wrong?
Yeah.
Do not ever do that.
Right.
I mean, it was funny because when that started, I could just see the writing on the wall. He's like, oh, it's a beautiful day. Nothing could possibly go wrong on a day like this. I'm late. It was like, well, saw that coming, but that's to be expected. Why was the dog driving the bus?
Because it's Snoopy. Snoopy breaks the fourth wall. Snoopy is a children's version of Deadpool.
But with less cursing.
Or
at least they put a word bubble up when he curses. Yeah. Because that part I was kind of like...
So, Snoopy has a lot of jobs in Peanuts because he has driven the bus on occasion. He has been Peppermint Patty's skating coach. He's been an exercise instructor. He's been just all sorts of odd jobs, because he's sort of the adult of the group. He is the adult surrogate.
Charlie Brown, he's Charlie Brown's pet, right?
Yes.
Or is he, okay.
He is Charlie Brown's pet dog. Beagle.
Pet Beagle. Because the way that the other kids were treating Snoopy is I wasn't sure if he actually was Charlie Brown's dog.
He is.
Or if he was like this community dog.
Well, in some neighborhoods, and it's sort of the dynamic of those kids, even though he's Charlie Brown's dog, all the other kids are kind of like, yeah, he's our dog, but not. If it's more common watching just Peanuts specials in general and reading the comics in general, they all kind of have ownership of Snoopy. It's the second movie that was put out, the second full-length Peanuts movie, Snoopy Come Home. And that's kind of where you get the feel of, oh, he belongs to all the kids.
All the kids love Snoopy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a dog. I don't like Peanuts, but I like Snoopy.
Yeah.
Why was there a whole song about how Charlie Brown could be king?
So, the original song the revival version, for those of you who have seen the older one but not the new one, or who have seen the revival only but not the old one, the first song is short. It just ends with the, you could be King Charlie Brown, you could be king, and then they stop, and Lucy says, if only you weren't so wishy-washy, and then the song ends. That's it. Like, it doesn't go into that little part where Snoopy's driving the bus or any of that.
That doesn't answer my question. Why could Charlie Brown be king?
Because it's a 60s concept album, and they're trying
There were no kings in the United States in the 1960s.
No, but
United States has never had a king.
You had things like Queen for a Day going on at that time, the 50s, and you had... I mean, kids have those sorts of aspirations sometimes.
Yeah, like Lucy with her I Want to Be a Queen, and
yes,
her little brother trying to tell her, no, you gotta be born into that kind of thing.
Which, that one, they've shortened it, and it makes me kind of sad, because her full monologue, after she realizes she can't be a queen, it's, well, if I can't be queen, then I'll be rich. Then I'll be very, very rich. And then I'll kick out the old queen and run the queendom myself, and I'll be head queen.
I did think it was... I did laugh at at Lucy laying on the piano, like, hitting on Linus?
Schroeder.
Sorry.
Not Linus.
Linus is her brother. I apologize.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure there's
We're not watching Bat Boy.
Yeah. Edgar. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. She kept mooning over Schroeder. And she got piano blocked by him.
Yes. And that's a running joke in the comic, is that Schroeder loves Beethoven and Lucy loves Schroeder.
I also love Beethoven. So I was totally on board with Beethoven Day. I would happily celebrate Beethoven Day. They can play Beethoven on the radio. I would be down with that. Snoopy needs to get neutered because he's a little aggressive, and I think a little snip snip would calm him down in his mouth-tingling need to bite.
Yeah, that's one thing that was always weird to me. So Snoopy's a beagle. Do you think of beagles when you think of bitey dogs? Because
no,
I don't.
I think of eating dog turds and don't leave any amount of food around them.
Yeah, you don't think of any of the stuff that Snoopy does ever as a beagle thing. But he's supposed to be a beagle. And he was based on Charles Schulz's pet dog, Spike, who did eat everything, but also was just like his beloved childhood dog. So when you're a kid, you imagine all these different things for your dog. But yeah, Snoopy has a weird fixation with biting things in the earlier stuff, and I'm not sure why.
So would he just all of a sudden go feral and need to bite something? Like, was it almost like,
no,
was there a trigger?
No, he'd just sort of have these thoughts going, I want to bite something, but I can't do it because society frowns on it, so I'm just not going to bite, but I wish I could.
Get a bone or something. Like, chew on a stick. Dog. I mean, our dog loves to chew on things, and that's why we get her chew toys.
Yes. And
you have options, Snoopy.
He did have, like, he would have his jungle animal fantasies where he'd be... Because Snoopy was sort of... they described him as Walter Mitty-esque, so he would have, like, oh, I'm the World War I flying ace, or I'm part of the Foreign Legion in the desert, or I'm a vulture hanging out, waiting for something to die, or I'm a leopard. He would have all these fantasies about what he was, because he's a dog that's waiting for someone to come home and play with him.
No, I don't know what that's like at all. When will Charlie Brown train Snoopy to maul Lucy? Because that's the only person who deserves to get bit.
Fair. I can't wait till we watch Dog Meets God now.
I mean, seriously, if I got picked on by someone as much as Charlie Brown got picked on by Lucy, I would train Snoopy to, like, chase her down and pee on her or something. Like,
yeah. I don't know. Lucy's mean.
She is mean. I don't like her. And then I kept thinking with Linus, strangle her with your blanket. Strangle her with your blanket. Like,
You know, I will say, the song that Linus has, My Blanket and Me, is one of my least favorite songs in the whole show.
so I didn't think that the initial song was bad, but it went way too long
Yes.
with, like, the tap, like, just the dance number with the blanket.
Yeah, it's a long
I was
song.
checked out a bit.
And I check out too, usually when I'm just listening to it, I sort of check out after the initial part of the song. And Linus does dance with his blanket, but that just kind of takes forever. And it's one of the weakest songs in the show.
Agreed.
And it's one of those ones that I'm like, when you were doing edits, you could have shortened this song or gotten rid of this song.
Know what it reminded me of, though, was Steven and how much he loves his towel that he drags all around the house. Except I don't think Linus humps his blanket.
No. Ugh.
Yeah, our cat Steven has a towel that he likes to drag around the house, and it's also his girlfriend.
It's just so weird.
You know, he could do worse things.
He could do worse
He
things,
could do
but
worse
it's still
things.
horrible to run into that towel in the hallway.
You just see that towel in the hallway, and you're like, I know where you've been.
Yeah.
Look at Linus the same way, even though he doesn't.
No.
And then, of course, I don't know why Charlie Brown has such a hard time flying a kite. I haven't flown a kite since I was a little kid, but I don't remember it being that difficult. I mean, is Charlie Brown just flying his kite on days when there's no wind? Is he...
He probably... Because usually his issue is that it gets eaten by a tree.
Stay away from the frickin' tree, then!
Yeah, like...
Go somewhere else, CB. Go somewhere else.
Oh, I love that you call him CB. You will love Dog Meets God.
I had to shorten it because I didn't want to keep writing Charlie Brown. So I just call him CB. And then Charlie Brown, you're good at listing things you suck at. Which Lucy, yeah, her psychology stand, like, I thought the joke was funny. Just mostly her criticizing people and then being like, pay me to tell you how much you suck.
Yes, that's also in the comics a lot as her psychiatric help, 5 cents the doctor is in.
But she's terrible, and I'm pretty sure her name is short for Lucifer.
Probably.
Because it kind of reminds me of Lucy, Daughter of the Devil.
So, a fun thing with her. So, Lucy wasn't in the comics until the mid-50s, and when she was introduced, she was like maybe 2. And she was kind of a loudmouth, but she wasn't mean at first. There was another character called Charlotte Braun, who was supposed to be the antithesis of Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, Charlotte Braun.
Nobody liked her.
I wonder why.
Readers.
If she's supposed to be Lucy.
Well, readers hated her because she was like, you take Lucy and you ramp her up and make her way more annoying about her meanness. That was Charlotte Braun. Like, she yelled every single thing that she said. And a reader actually wrote into Charles Schultz saying that she hated her and wanted Charlotte Braun out of the comic. And so Charles Schultz wrote back this letter just kind of going, really? You sure you wanted the death of a child on your hands? And then he had a drawing with Charlotte Braun with an axe on her head. like, going through her head, and then that was it. She was out of the comic, and Lucy sort of took over that role, but was more likable than Charlotte Bronn.
Picked up the mantle of Queen Butthead.
Yes.
In the show, there'd be times you'd see, like, Snoopy running in the back or something like that. I kept thinking that it was a naked person running on stage. Because, like, when it's in the shadows, the suit is similar in skin tone. And at first I would just be like, is that person naked? And then I would see the ear. Oh, okay, no, that's the Snoopy character. I'm just like, who is freeballing it on stage? And then we already covered this. I would totally celebrate Beethoven Day.
Well, yeah.
Let's make that a holiday. People listening, write to your congressman, write to your political representatives, and recommend Beethoven Day, because this needs to happen. I want it.
So, about Beethoven Day. That song is not in the original musical. In fact, Schroeder and Patty are kind of the ensemble characters, and they don't really get their own songs. So, when Patty was removed, then it's like, okay, well, Sally can get her own song. But then it's like, well, we need to give Schroeder something. And the revival, I forgot to tell you who was in the cast. So, B.D. Wong, do you remember him?
No.
Jurassic Park. Or Jurassic World.
Is he the scientist?
Yes, he's the scientist. Okay. He was Linus.
Oh. Okay.
And Schroeder was Wayne Brady.
Really?
Yes, so they wrote Beethoven Day, and Schroeder was Wayne Brady, so you can imagine how good the original Beethoven Day is.
Yeah, it was probably really good.
That was one of my favorite songs when I first heard the revival.
That's funny, because it's one of mine, so I can imagine that with Wayne Brady doing it, probably, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's Beethoven Day, and then, it just kind of, I know that you had said that they do a much longer monologue with Snoopy being the flying ace, fighting the Red Baron.
And we actually watched it after we watched the show, because I was so sad that they didn't keep the whole monologue in.
But it was just funny in the version we watched, how all of a sudden it just took this hard turn. I hear machine gun fire, and it's dark, and these lights swirling around. I was like, holy crap, are we jumping into like a post-apocalyptic future in Charlie Brown? Are we going to see zombies and robots running around wreaking havoc? But no, it's back in time to World War I, with the flying ace battling the Red Baron.
That is the second act opener, usually.
Rabbits?
Oh, the Chasing Rabbits.
Chasing Rabbits. Oh, that's right. They were doing their book report. Mm-hmm. I thought the book report was funny, because I could see different aspects of my education represented in each one of those kids, because I remember being younger and being like 1, 2, 3, like counting words, trying to get what I needed, and then later in life being able to BS a book report really well, and just kind of like expand upon things and make it seem like I was deeper than I was in order to get a good grade. And teachers I don't want to say they fell for it, but...
Well, and so fun fact about Kay, I student taught for a little bit, and rewatching You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and this is going to be the case with Snoopy the Musical, I just know it, I have received a paper or essay from each of those kids.
The one that is way longer than the required amount. The one
with words that a kid that age shouldn't know, but I've talked to this kid, and so I know that they know these words.
Then you get the ones that it's the exact number of words, and you can tell that they added in extra ones to try and fill in.
Yes, the kid who waited till the last minute, and then the kid who has a hyperfixation on one thing and completely goes off the subject. Like, I want to be a judge.
And I have it in here, we'll talk about the book report, Les Miserables book report, because it had that vibe when Charlie Brown was singing about doing the book report. I was like, wow, I'm getting Les Miserables flashbacks with the Blood of Angry Men song.
Which this came long before that, so...
Yeah, but it just made me laugh, because I was like, I got a little bit of deja vu, and it's just funny to see those... to have that thought with this material.
Right?
Because it's, very, very polar opposite. Lucy is well versed in alternative facts, I noticed.
Yes.
When she was educating her little brother on how snow comes out of the ground and banging your head on a tree makes it grow more.
Yes.
Great food as I do. Is that an original song in there too? Him singing about
Yes.
how excited he is for supper?
Yes. Now, the original supper time is shorter, and it's not a jazzy thing. It's just upbeat and really peppy and such.
Really excited.
Yeah, he's an excited beagle who's getting food, and oh my gosh, I'm getting food.
Anybody who's ever known a beagle would absolutely agree. I've never, ever known dogs who get as excited for food as beagles do. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. I did skip over a line here because I did like Sally's philosophy song.
Yes.
That was probably one of my favorite songs in there. The version we watched, I thought the girl who played Sally did a great job. She was very high energy and just funny and fun.
Yeah, Sally was perfect
She was a tad annoying, but I feel like that is negligible because she is playing a little girl.
Yes.
And no offense to little girls, but children in general can be annoying.
Yeah.
And I felt like she had just the right amount of annoying.
She captured Sally perfectly because that is Sally in the comics.
Good. I did really think Lucy doing her survey was funny when Sally comes through and she just basically gives every generic answer for a survey.
And what are you going to do about the dent in my bicycle?
Yeah.
Also, there was the baseball game that poor Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I didn't write anything down about that because I was like, I already don't really care for baseball, and I don't like... You're combining baseball and Charlie Brown, two things I'm not super thrilled about. So, but yes, that did happen, and Charlie Brown screwed up the game because his luck is just that bad.
Well, and Lucy screwed up the game too, but we don't ever blame her for anything.
What'd she do?
Well, she caught the ball and dropped it, so...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was a point they could have scored.
Yeah.
And the pen pal does show up in Dog Meets God.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and it's actually really good.
I would assume the pen pal is just a reoccurring character throughout the comics.
Yes, Charlie Brown has this pen pal who he always writes to. You never see the pen pal in the comics, but he's always writing to his pen pal.
Do we know where his pen pal lives?
Nope.
Okay.
We have no idea. It's just this character that exists.
Does he ever get letters from his pen pal?
No.
That's kind of sad.
But, I mean, he never says he never gets letters, but you never see him get letters from the pen pal. So, it could go either way.
I'm just picturing this kid getting letter after letter from this person who has a terrible life, and he's just like...
I cannot wait for you to see this show. Oh my gosh.
Dog Meets God?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so keep that...
Well, maybe we have to do it sooner.
Yeah, keep that in your brain. And also, we did watch a scene that they cut out from the version that we were watching, but I looked it up, that was a Glee Club scene. So Schroeder is trying to rehearse a song that's Home on the Range, and poor Schroeder.
Well, it's just funny how you can see he's taking it very seriously. This is art. We need to be focused and committed to this wondrous thing we're creating, and then it's home on the range.
Give me my pencil.
No.
So that's a scene that I like. That it's in the animated, because there's an animated special, but the animated special is 30 minutes, so they cut out a lot of it, but they leave that song in, and it's really cute.
And then they close the show with Happiness. I don't know what else to call the song, but Happiness
That's what it's called, is Happiness.
And they're just singing about happiness is basically whatever makes you happy.
Yes.
Do you want to know what makes me happy? Happiness for me is a clown crying. That's happiness for me.
That is happiness.
Because I don't like clowns.
Yeah.
I don't like clowns at all. So if I saw a clown crying, I couldn't help but smile.
I do like the song Happiness, and that was actually the first song that... No, it's the second song I heard of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The first one I heard was the Kite song on this compilation, this Broadway Kids compilation, that I talked about a little bit in the Les Mis episode. But when I first heard Happiness, I went, this is a really sweet song. And what the song Happiness is it's from a book called Happiness is a Warm Puppy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a phrase that was coined by, I want to say it was Charles Schulz's cousin Patty, who both Peppermint Patty and Patty are based on. And she had said happiness is a warm puppy, and he kind of went with that, and that's a comic. But then he expanded it into a book, and it's just this book of these are things that happiness is. Happiness is 5 different crayons. Happiness is 2 kinds of ice cream. Happiness is learning to whistle.
You hear that, Latte? Happiness is a warm puppy.
Happiness is a warm puppy. A warm puppy who maybe would get on the bed? Maybe?
She's like, happiness for me is a cookie.
Yes.
And my squeak ball.
Yes.
And some cardboard. And snow.
And snow. She will be sad when summer hits. But snow will come back.
Snow will come back.
But yeah, so...
It always comes back.
So You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and Snoopy both are going to have kind of a similar feel. Snoopy, to me, feels a little bit more organized, but you'll see when we get to it. Both kind of end on a softer song that's kind of meant to smooth over any edges that occurred in the show. Because Happiness, especially this version of it, which I really liked, as everyone's dispersing at the end of the song, Schroeder gives Lucy a kiss on her cheek, so that kind of smooths over that edge. And then when Lucy gives her "You're a good man, Charlie Brown" line at the end, and Charlie Brown goes to shake her hand and she just hugs him, that's one of those, like, okay, that smoothed over that edge, so this day ended well for them.
She lost a couple bitch points with giving him a hug.
Yeah, so it's kind of... It's, when you look at it through the lens of a kid, then it's kind of a sweet thing, because it's, oh, this is more innocent. And really, this show is more innocent than other shows that we've covered, because most of the shows that we've covered have dealt with deeper themes. This show is more like, hey, this is lighthearted and through the eyes of children. So it's a breather, because I felt really bad about Batboy.
Yeah. Well,
and the other option that I had, I was like, I'm not going to do that to him this soon.
and I feel bad because I know how much you like.
I like Peanuts, but so I liked it a lot more when I was a kid, because you do when you're a kid. As an adult, I kind of have gone to... I'm not too cynical for Peanuts, but I kind of have trouble with some of it, especially there are some themes and stuff that I kind of have trouble dealing with, especially when people try to bring it up as a strong Christian story, because even though I was raised Christian and I still somewhat see myself as that, I don't like when people try to use a comic that's meant to... I mean, yes, Charles Schulz was Christian. He was very devout, but I didn't ever see judgment in the comic, and I see some people try to use it for judgment on memes and stuff online, and so I'm kind of like, don't ruin something that's pure and childish and innocent. Like, there would be no judgment on people in that world, other than the type that kids would normally have of...
Yeah. From what I do know of Peanuts, I never have gleaned anything negative, really.
Yeah.
My own disliking of Peanuts just had to deal with growing up with kids who would tease me about certain things related to Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
And so it just put a taint on it for me, and I could never enjoy it because of that.
Yeah.
So that's really it. But when I did see Peanut stuff, I never saw anything, because that was the thing, is like I always kind of found it a little bit boring.
And it is.
Yeah. So it's kind of giving me a little bit of the dog tilting his head when you say that people using it for a judgmental way. I'm kind of like, well, that seems like grasping at straws to try and justify a certain viewpoint using.
It's similar to
peanuts.
people doing the Calvin peeing on stuff, or even there's that, and then there's the Calvin praying that I've seen, which stop doing that because Bill Watterson said do not use his characters for any sort of commercial stuff. I swear I get so mad when I see that because that's not what he wants. That's my Bill Watterson rant. But with
Calvin Hobbes tangent.
Yeah, with Peanuts, you know, I know that they do have their Christmas episode that does tell the story, the Bible story, but other than that, they really are just, these are kids. These are kids doing things that kids do. Don't look at it as anything else. Don't try to use it for anything else. I mean, you know, Dog Meets God is obviously not by Charles Schulz, not authorized by Charles Schulz. It is a parody, but
isn't that, from what I understand, isn't it the kids all grown up,
yes,
more or less?
It is high school. It is set in high school, so they're no longer kids in that sense.
The innocence is gone.
Yeah, but when you're looking at things like this, it's pardon.
I lost something dear to me. Your innocence?
Okay, Greg Universe. But the innocence of this show still exists, and the innocence of Peanuts is what sometimes brings me back to it. But sometimes I have to sit there and go, but this comic, when it's not Snoopy related, is kind of boring. Because
Snoopy is the one who goes on grand adventures in his own head.
Yes, because he's a dog who's home alone.
It's got an imagination.
Yes. Whereas the kids, I mean, don't get me wrong, though. Some of the comics can go into some deeper things. Like, there's actually a longer story in the comics where Charlie Brown's in the hospital for a while.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. There's one where Linus meets a little girl who has leukemia and deals with his friend having a serious disease. They do tackle some heavier subjects in the comic, but it's really rare because it's meant to be just a daily comic strip. Sunday through Sunday.
It was
yes,
daily?
It was daily. So 1950 to 2000 every single day.
Yikes.
Yes.
That's a lot of...
That is a lot of
A
material.
lot of material.
Yep.
Calvin and Hobbes was just weekly, right?
It was daily.
It was daily?
Mhm.
Oh.
It ran for 10 years.
I'm definitely more of a Calvin and Hobbes fan.
Oh yeah. No, Calvin and Hobbes was my first love. Calvin and Hobbes and Far Side.
Oh,
Concurrently.
Far Side. Oh, Far Side.
But Peanuts is my go back to childhood. No, there's not. I'm sorry.
You saw, like my brain, is there okay. So theater people, listen to my voice. You need to go forward and make a Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes theater thing, musical. That's what they're called. Make a musical.
I will say Calvin and Hobbes won't happen.
Because of Bill Watterson?
Because of Bill Watterson. It would be against his wishes.
Oh, Bill.
But Far Side, maybe. I don't know how. It would probably end up more like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
But it would be
hilarious.
Yeah. That would be funny.
It would be a less innocent You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
That would be so great. Okay. Sorry. We're tangents.
We're going on a tangent. But yeah,
Thank you for listening, Tangent, the
yeah,
podcast.
thank you for listening to this tangent here, because I kind of got on a soapbox about Charlie Brown, because that was near and dear to my heart for a long time, and then the cynical side of high school and college occurred.
Yeah.
But every so often, it's kind of like my love for Steven Universe is because of that innocence that shows up. and why I like the Townie episodes more, because I'm like, no, please let this child rest, please.
Yeah.
Let him just have ice cream.
So getting back to
So,
you're a good fella, CB. It's my least favorite one that we've listened to so far. I don't think it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's terrible. I think people who liked Charlie Brown probably will like this.
Yes.
Like quite a bit. But for me, it was, I don't know, maybe I probably enjoyed about a third of it.
And that's fair, because there's a third of it that's really good. There's another third that's okay, and then there's My Blanket and Me, where I'm like, would be okay without this song. That is the one that pretty much every listen through that I ever did when I was younger, I would skip that song. And I love Linus to death, but that song always bothered me. Because an adult pretending to be a child with a blanket fixation is just weird.
It is weird.
Like, that's another thing that the next one that we do that's Peanuts related, they don't do that, and that's another reason why I don't like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown as much as Snoopy, but we needed to see this one first before we saw that one, because chronological and such.
No, it's important. I agree with your decision.
Yeah. And plus, like, this one I kind of anticipated would be your least favorite so far, because we haven't done Little Abner yet.
So that'll be my least favorite when that shows up.
I will be so surprised if you like it. Like,
well, we shall see.
it's rough.
Is it about dogs?
No.
You said rough.
I realized that as soon as the words came out of my mouth, that there was going to be a pun. But,
yeah.
yeah, so that was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It's an okay show. It's not the best show. I mean, when I was a kid, yeah, I thought it was the best show. But it's not. Now that I'm an adult, I'm kind of like, other shows are better. This one's fun to go back to when I'm having a day where I just need to turn off my brain for a little bit and not think.
Relive a simpler time in your life.
Relive a simpler time, which all of you could do. This production was good. There's a reason that this show is done by high schools and stuff. It's easy to perform.
Yeah, so while I was kind of criticizing the show, don't take that to mean that the people performing it did a poor job. They did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me personally and my tastes. Never was a huge Peanuts fan, and just didn't really care for a lot of the stuff in it. But the people performing it did a good job, so nothing against them.
Yeah, and this is, like, if this is your favorite show, that's awesome. Used to be my favorite show. Isn't anymore, but it used to be. And, yeah, everyone's good to have their own opinion on things. There will be shows that we like that you will probably be like, really? Really?
Really? It'll be funny if we get comments and just more people are like, yeah, I also don't like this show very much. Then you're going to get the one person who's like, what's the deal, Warren? This is the greatest thing ever, and here's why.
Or we'll have someone who gets really mad at me for my comments about Peanuts and why I have my views on it now after I've grown up. Or people who say, no, Snoopy the Musical is worse than Charlie Brown.
Hey, I'll be the judge of that. When we listen to Snoopy.
Yes.
Because my word is law.
And I do have a really good production of Snoopy. If it doesn't get taken off the internet by the time that we get to it, I will cry. But I am excited for next week.
What's in store for us next week, Kay?
Next week will have been our 10th episode.
Yay!
And every 10 episodes, it's Weber Week.
Webster.
Oh no. So, we're going to be doing Andrew Lloyd Webber's first published musical. It's going to be pretty fun because not only will you be getting a lesson in musical theater, you'll also be getting an impromptu vacation Bible school lesson.
Two of my favorite things.
Right?
I'm stoked.
We're going to do Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Groovy.
Yep. And I will try to keep it from being an actual Vacation Bible School lesson, even though I still have the one for this Bible story. But we'll keep it musical related.
I'm excited.
Yay! Thank you so much for listening. We truly hope you enjoyed this. Please follow us on Twitter at Tone Deaf Musical and like, share, and subscribe.
If you loved it, tell your friends and spread the word. If you want to go above and beyond, please donate to our Patreon, which is also Tone Deaf Musical.
That's it for this week. I'm Kay.
I'm Warren.
And this has been Tone Deaf.